What's up, yo? This is getreallanguage, switching up the backgrounds. So, I thought I'd make a video about teaching English to speakers of Spanish again. And this applies to other Romance languages, I believe. Alright, so this has to do with what in linguistics we call concatenative, or yeah, I guess that's how you would pronounce it, like concatenative morphology and non-concatenative morphology. Concatenative morphology basically has to do with like suffixes, like suffixes for plural, plural suffix, a prefix like possible, impossible, or an infix, which English has no infixes. But if you've had a linguistics 101 course, you know what an infix is. It's basically like a suffix or a prefix, but it goes in between, like the end, the beginning, and the end of the word, instead of at the end or at the beginning. Non-concatenative morphology is what happens when you have, for example, you say mouse, mice, right? Instead of a suffix, you just have a root change. So, or for example, you have what's called a consonant mutation. That's when one consonant changes. For example, house, the place, or house, the verb, as in we need to house all these people. We need to put them in houses, right? In a house, each of them. So it's hard for speakers of Spanish to understand non-concatenative morphology because Spanish has little to none. So, for example, in Spanish, we have words like, for example, we have verbs that not only get like a suffix for the conjugation, but also have like a change in a stem vowel. But it's a change in a stem vowel plus a suffix. There's no words like, or there's very, very few, like maybe some of the irregular verbs, some of the like really, really honest to God irregular verbs, like the verb said or stuff like that, were like just changing the stem changes the conjugation. So because of this, it's very hard for speakers of Spanish to deal with, for example, irregular plurals in English, like child, children, or mouse, mice, and so on. So what usually happens is that in the beginning they just totally regularize it. They'll say stuff like, mouses, right? Of course, with a thicker accent, but you get the idea. Then they'll get the gist of the stem change, but it's very hard for them to take the last step and drop the suffix. So, for example, most learners of Spanish say children's. They say and so on. Children's is a classic. Another example of this is irregular verbs, like think and thought, and by and bought, and so on. Now, because the only marker for the tense change is the stem change, they will have no problem learning the forms. They'll just memorize them. But the problem is that because there's no marking besides the stem, they'll have trouble remembering which is the present and which is the past form, like which is the base form and which is the past form. So they'll say, they will not only say like think, I think yesterday, but they will also say thought when they mean the present, and with other verbs as well. It's a very common thing because in Spanish, time, tense differences are marked with suffixes. Sometimes there's also a stem change, but there's always a suffix. So it's something that's hard to grasp. Consonant mutation is another beast altogether because sometimes because of the phonological system of Spanish, it's hard for Spanish speakers to differentiate between voiced and voiceless versions of fricatives. So it's not that they have trouble learning house and house. They don't even get there because to them house and house sound exactly the same. But that's another story. So that's a little tidbit about, and anyone who's ever taught English for any extended period of time has heard, you know, things like I have 2 childrens. Honestly, what I suggest to my students is just forget about the word children. Just say I have 2 kids. Catch you guys later.